and welcome to another Yu-Gi-Oh video, and today I'm bringing you a first place World Championship celebration event deck profile, and here are the goodies that I managed to get a hold of. Obviously the envelope with the two important prize cards in it, one field center for entry. This is actually standard playing card size, it's not a Yu-Gi-Oh card size, so you can't put it in your Yu-Gi-Oh sleeves, but slightly bigger, a little bit tougher. And then of course the World Championship 2019 playmat. So that's for the prizes. Let's take a look at the deck that I ran. So I decided to play Sky Striker. I figured that it would be a fairly slow advantage based format. There would be a bunch of combo decks that I'd have to beat, and I'm not very comfortable with playing Salamangreat. I haven't played it in a very long time. Actually, I only started playing Striker probably about a month ago. It was something that I totally ignored until this format because it has such a good anti-Salamangreat performance. And it seemed like it would be really good in a sort of UK roguish format where you can build up a lot more advantage than your opponent from basically nowhere. So for monsters, 3 copies of Ray. There was one time when I managed to banish all of the copies of Ray, which was very unfortunate, but apart from that, this card provides you so much advantage. If your opponent can remove it, then they probably end up winning at that point because it's very hard to recur your resources without it. It's Worlds format, so you can only play 2 copies of Ash, 3 Veiler, and I decided to play 3 Ghost Ogre as well. Ghost Ogre is in here because it's very impactful against sort of roguish decks, and then Veiler was... I wanted to either main deck it or side deck it because I knew that Denko would appear in the format. You know, it's the kind of thing where Pendulum is a big deal, Thunder's a big deal, so you need something to respond to that. And Ogre is sort of like the next best hand trap. It's one that people don't typically expect too much, and it does really well in the sort of roguish formats anyway because they set themselves up for a big combo and then you Ogre something that's key to their process and they just lose from there. That's it for the monsters. For the spells, 2 engage, you can only play 2, so a bit unfortunate, but that's what we work with. And then same thing for Widow Anchor. The deck functions perfectly fine with 2 and 2. You can always get yourself to engage when you actually need it, and you just recycle the second copy of Widow Anchor in any state where it would have been banished off your multi-roll. I had a game which went on for a really long time. It ended with me having only 3 cards left in deck, and the way that I was winning was I kept using Hercules Base to reset the only Widow Anchor that I had left, and then in the end phase I was searching it with a Shizuku. So you just keep being able to recur from that position, which is really nice. Triple multi-roll, it's Worlds format, so you may as well play one of the best cards in the deck at maximum. And then only 2 Area 0. There were times when I was tempted to have a third one. Typically by the time you need the third one, you won't be able to have a spare Ray off it. But it nets you so much advantage in a slower format, so if you think your event is going to be slower, I'd play more of this and maybe cut down on hand traps a little bit. Same thing for 2 Shark Cannon, really good in much slower formats. If you're going in a slightly faster format, you can get away with just the 2 because you'll be able to search one anyway off your Shizuku, and just go from there. 1 drones, 1 afterburners, 1 jamming waves. These 2 give you great advantage in the slow formats that we anticipated, and then 1 Hercules base. I was debating playing this card for a really long time. I decided to put it in because I figured that even though it's a going first build, this one, when you do manage to get your base and resolve it and start getting your draws off it, you instantly get ahead, which is very key for the format. And beyond that, if you're expecting the games to go on, which I really was, then this allows you to keep looping your plays. Plus, it's really nice against Salamangreat because you can just put it on your Kugari and then double attack. And typically that nets you enough. So that's it for the Sky Striker spells. Pretty sure it's something like 1 in 8 chance of not seeing one of these off your Area 0. It's about that, it's actually a little bit less than that, but sorry, a little bit more than that for you not seeing, which is pretty good odds, although I did manage to have one game where I resolved Area 0, 3-4 times and didn't see a single thing off it, so that was a bit unfortunate. 2 desires, again, it gives you more advantage. Sometimes the banishing 10 is a problem. It's never because you've banished particular targets. None of that matters now that Hayate is a card. What actually matters is that you've just run out of cards So if you've banished your base and you can't recycle, you could just deck yourself out. Two goods. It's terrible going second, but it's a going first build, so I decided that I would play it with the Metaphors Fusion. It's just the cheaper upstart. I've never used it for anything else. Potentially in the Thunder matchup, I could have used it to send an anchor, but there was never a time when it was relevant and I didn't already have a way to get the anchor there to start playing. Fourth copy of Ray, another copy of Area Zero. Better to play this than the actual Area Zero because of the side deck, and then one upstart. That's for the spell lineup. 3 more hand traps in the form of impermanence. There were several times where I set this and then resolved it to negate 2 cards, which just gives you so much advantage from 1 card. It's really good in that sense. I don't think I ever used it as a hand trap. As a result, it was always another way to interact. And then 3 floodgates. I think I saw this and resolved it once. You really aren't reliant on it, but it's just a sort of nice to have because you can win instantly by having this card in the game. So for the main deck, 40 cards, extra deck, Fairy token, Fusion Dance token, more Fairy tokens, because you're going to resolve your Hornet Drones, and that allows you to get your Kugari, triple Hayate, triple Shizuku, and the 1 Kana. The only time I actually went into the Kana, it wasn't relevant. I was going into time. We weren't sure how long was actually left on the round. I think it was 4 minutes when we started, and I figured, oh, I'll go first, and then I'll just use Kana to boost some life points. Went into it and didn't actually have anything that I could do with it, so I was just like, oh, I can make it, and then bluff that my opponent will have to, like, failure it or something, and they didn't. So it was totally useless. It's just good as a name. That's really the only other thing you need it for. You don't typically stop attacks with it very often, except when you're going to lose, so it's not super relevant for that. 1 copy of Phoenix, which I made once, not to pop a spell trap, just it was a way to clear a Colossus that my opponent had. 1 Ningirsu to go with the Heater, Triple Burst. This is really good, but never made it. 1 Topologic for the weird OTKs. 1 Borload, this came up once, and 1 Boral Sword also came up once to the Stealer game. That's the extra deck. You could potentially play the Super Poly variant. I played around with it a bit. I felt like it wouldn't be as impactful for a very rogue format, so decided I'd just go with the maximum number of Link monsters and get the most utility out of my extra deck instead. Side deck, Triple Crow. I expected Salamangreat. I didn't see any of it, so this was kind of useless, but it would have been very nice if it had been around. Triple MST, I decided not to main it and to side it. I definitely wanted to play MST so I could flex with these, but beyond that, I mean, it's nice. I considered Twin Twisters. Every time in testing when I was using Twisters, it felt like it was underperforming, so this is just slightly better. What's much better is Cosmic Cyclone. Really good in the Salamangreat matchup. I was nearly maining this, but I watched a few matches in the run-up to this event, and there were a lot of decks that performed well, not relying on their spell trap removal. And then in a going first deck, just theorying it, this card isn't super impactful unless you're going second and guaranteeing resolving it against something that's actually relevant. So just sided that one. And then for when you go up against the combo decks, Double Mine and Set Rotation, essentially have 4 copies of mine with the Terraforming. It's always nice. This came up once, which is pretty nice, but it just ended up being popped anyway, so it wasn't super important. And then I decided to side Shared Ride, which isn't a very common choice. I saw some profiles, I think from Australia, from somewhere where someone was playing this and said it had been really useful against a Salad matchup. It certainly seems like it has a big impact there, and against a lot of slow decks. Against the fast decks, obviously it does nothing except it helps you to get to your hand traps. But in a format where you expect people to play Strikers, Salamangreats, Guru, or all sorts of weird, slow, drawy decks, Shared Ride should be really, really good, and I'm main decking so many hand traps that this seems like a great option to have. So that is it for the list. Let me know if you have any comments that you want to make about what I played. And yeah, we'll see whether Striker is something that I carry on with in the future, or if maybe I bring out something with Yazzie in it instead. So for the rounds that I played, it was a 4-round event. It wasn't single elimination, but basically if you didn't win all of the rounds, then you didn't win the prizes. So round 1, I played against a Thunder Batteryman OTK deck. I won the die roll, so went first, and then was like winning pretty early on because I had Shark Cannon's Life, so I could stop him from making big pushes. But the Thunder Dragons were potentially a problem, but I ended up winning that one 2-0. Round 2, I went up against Paleo, lost the die roll. Won that game 1 because advantage is really good and Shark Cannoning the opponent is totally awesome, is really good. And then game 2, exactly the same thing, it just took a lot longer. And it turns out when they resolve for Reckless Greed, it's actually fine because them having 2 cards and then not drawing for 2 turns just doesn't make any difference. You're still going to be pushing ahead much faster than that. Round 3 was against Thunder, so a little bit scary. I think game 1 I lost the die roll, but I can't remember for sure. I had there can be only 1 up, so this was the only time it actually had a big impact, and it meant that I was able to win game 1 after a really grindy 25-minute game. Game 2 I lost because he went second, put on like a Denko I think, and was able to amass too much damage. When we went into game 3, it was like running into time, 4 minutes left I think. I was going first. I figured I could boost myself ahead and keep playing with Kana. Turns out that I didn't have enough cards to actually do that, so that was the point when I summoned the Kana and it didn't do anything. And then we had back and forth turns where whenever it's my turn, I was going to win all life points. Whenever it's his turn, he was going to win all life points. And it happened to come down that at the end of the match, I was ahead. So that's how it just happens sometimes in time. Round 4 against Donald playing Medolce. So I wasn't expecting to face this in the final. He was playing like a OTKing deck. So I went first. I just had enough interrupts with so many hand traps, and the Ghost Ogre was really strong in this one. The game 1 was super long. I'd banished 2 of the rays off the Desires. 1 got hit by a Call by the Grave, so I had no rays left. I was just relying on Hornet Drones and shuffling everything back with the Hercules base. So this is one where I ended on 3 cards, winning that game 1. And then in game 2, I went first again. I took out the Floodgates because I figured that I wanted to set myself up to be in a better position with just resolving anti-Hayate more and more. And then the Shared Ride was available but never had a big impact, unfortunately. I think his hand wasn't so good, and I was able to just out-resource and then take the game from there. So those were my rounds, 4-0.
This channel is supported by Tier 0 Games. Head to the link in the description in order to pick up the latest Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon cards, other TCGs, as well as plenty of accessories, and stay tuned for more videos on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Channel.